So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining that are on the line. Thank you, panel, for being here. I'll let you all introduce yourselves in just a second here. But just kind of like the first conversation, we'll dive into kind of what's going on in the community, what folks are seeing. Then we will have time at the end for audience questions. So I invite you all, as you're listening to the panel today, if you have any questions throughout or things come up that you want more information on, feel free to ask, and we'll get to those at the end of the panel in just a few minutes here. So with that, I'll just go ahead and have you all go around and just kind of quickly introduce yourself, your organization, and just a little bit about what you all do. Kris, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I'm Kris Thompson. I'm the CEO at Calvary Women's Services. Calvary provides housing, health, education, and employment programs for women who are homeless and women who are survivors of domestic violence. We offer services and personal support that empowers women to end their homelessness for good. So we're located in Ward 8. We offer transitional and permanent housing programs for women. We serve about 100 women each night, and we have stayed open all through COVID, so 100 women each night. We offer mental health services on site, which is why we're a part of this panel. So therapy, we have a licensed nurse practitioner, we do daily addiction recovery meetings, and then we also have a full education program and an employment program. And so when I checked in with the staff today, they said this week women are practicing meditation. They're engaging in art through the art of the Harlem Renaissance. They're managing their personal budgets, and they all went on a daily walk this week. So that's what's happening at Calvary.
That's great. Thank you. JB?
Good evening, everyone. I'm JB Moore. I'm the Executive Director for NAMI, Prince George's County. We provide peer support for individuals and their families living with mental illness or mental health condition. And we do this through peer-led support groups and education and community outreach, as well as advocacy. I'm also the proud sister and guardian of a loved one living with a persistent and serious mental illness. And it's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Great, thank you. And Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Marson. I'm the Executive Director of Create Arts Center, and we're based in Silver Spring, but we serve the entire metro region. We offer art education programs for all ages and across all media. And what makes us unique, I mean, we have the after-school art clubs, we're in the schools, the community centers, the senior centers, but what makes our visual arts organization unique is that we offer comprehensive mental health services with our licensed art therapists. So we work with children, teens, adults, families, couples. Many of our clients are living with severe mental health issues. We work with individuals with developmental disabilities and autism. We offer our services bilingual, and most of our services are offered on a sliding scale fee so that nobody is turned away from getting the help they need based on their resources. We also provide programs in local elementary schools throughout Montgomery County, which are a combination of your basic arts program, but also developed with our art therapists. It's called Smart Kids. So we're intervening early for immigrant children who are struggling with language and literacy skills, social skills. We intervene with 2 teachers for every student on a semester basis. Is a free program. We fully fund it through grants and donations. So that is Create in a nutshell. And I too am very, very happy to be here. The whole program of the night started off great, and I'm excited to participate in this panel.
Thank you. So we'll just start with a question. Obviously, saying 2020 has been a year of change for all of us is the understatement of probably the century. But when we think about specifically for your clients or the community you typically serve, obviously there's been a lot of changes, but what challenges have those also presented? And what shifts in kind of the need have you seen?
So if you want us to just jump in here, I'll go ahead. So at Calvary, I think what we've seen certainly as a a provider of services to people who are homeless, to women who are homeless, and to those who are fleeing domestic violence, we've seen a really increased demand and need for housing. And particularly after the city reopened in July and we went into phase 2, there were more women reaching out to us and to our sister agencies looking for housing. And so I think COVID has really been a reality check about how many people, the real lack of affordable housing in our community and the real need that arises during a crisis, and what our response to that can be and should be. I would also say for the women that we serve, this has just been a really difficult time for all of us, right? We're all experiencing the strains and stresses of being locked in, of not being able to kind of do the things that we need to do and want to do for ourselves. And so we're seeing real increases in depression and have more clients really feeling isolated, not seeing their families very much. It's been difficult to kind of be in a program where there's not the same kind of freedom because we're trying to make sure that everyone stays safe. Women have been feeling certainly the weight of the racial unrest that's been happening in our country. And so we've really been trying to ramp up what we're offering. So kind of more classes done in a safe way, some of that virtual, some of that in small groups. We've added community meetings. Our therapy services are offered virtually. We've stuck with doing in-person relapse prevention groups because early on, the women in our program said, I'm not making it through this if I don't have my group. And so we added more groups so that there's actually only 5 women in each group. And so that's made a huge difference. So it's really been about how do we just support women and support one another as staff because we're all working on site in staying safe and kind of in staying as stable as we can in our mental health. So sleeping well, eating well, walking, exercising, as well as offering the kinds of support and services that women need.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Kris said, I mean, that's what we've seen too, just a huge demand for our therapy and for our mental health services. I mean, our clients did, one of the things when we shut down on March 17th, it was within a week that we got our art therapy services back online, because for people who are living with mental illness, the anxiety is and the depression is simply, their symptoms are simply exacerbated. And so, reaching out and getting them the tools that they needed to engage with us and was priority number one, and we moved very quickly to do so, but also in response to what our partners were telling us, the county was telling us. Partnerships are huge for us with our goal to ensure that the arts are available, accessible, affordable for everyone. So as the other nonprofits on here do as well, we work very closely with partners so that we can really have an impactful outreach. So in response to those conversations, what we did is start to offer nighttime groups, daytime groups. We offered Latino groups, Spanish-speaking groups for teens to deal with some of the issues of, being isolated in homes that may or may not be safe. Parents. So, we tried to respond, and the overwhelming majority of our clients are female. So we have, and many of them have been in situations of domestic violence, drug abuse, etc. So, we're not trying to be everything to everybody, but we're really trying to concentrate on meeting those immediate needs by just simply reaching out. And, some of the other clients that we have, we work with veterans, firefighters. So everybody has just been in this pot of uncertainty and anxiety. And so we have been running art therapy 7 days a week with open groups, and now invite individuals back on site for individual art therapy. And we will just continue to expand and respond.
Yeah, I would agree with what has been said so far. There's been an increase in the demand for services. Prior to COVID, we had a mental health crisis more people were experiencing mental illness than were getting treatment. And what we noticed is with COVID, our clientele, it seemed that their coping skills has been severely challenged.
Mhm.
And so they're reaching out more, and we are in a county that is predominantly minority. There are pockets of places that are underserved, and there are not enough behavioral health resources for the individuals that need treatment and services, and nor can they find these treatment and services. So we operate a helpline, and we've noticed an uptick in the outreach to our helpline, for services in the community to help them.
Definitely. And not surprisingly, knowing y'all, the next question is going to be how y'all have pivoted your work to meet those needs. But as soon as you guys think about needs, you're already talking about. So not surprisingly there. But I would be curious, for a lot of you, it sounds like this is kind of the first time maybe doing, some virtual talk, maybe some smaller group sizes, right? So just things have been a little different. Obviously, we're looking forward to getting back to a place where we can do a lot of the things we used to do. But anything that you've done differently during the pandemic that you think we actually might keep this as part of how we do our work, or positive lessons learned there that y'all want to take moving forward?
I'm just going to jump in and say, what's been amazing, and we were speaking about this prior to us going live, is how quickly the staff and the teaching artists and the art therapists adapted. I mean, we jumped right into training, because when you're teaching art, it's such an expressive, such an engaging media that, not being in the room with your students is difficult. So, we invested in the technology, we invested in the training, and we worked hard at being able to engage audiences in ways that were meaningful and effective to them, and to run classes, again, keeping with, so that it worked for everybody, but it was creative, engaging. So whether it was a class where, hey, common things used at home, or here are art supplies you can pick up, or a link to art supplies you can order, we just kept expanding and building on what was working, and getting more creative. And now, we have on-site programs that we run safely on, obviously, at Create. And, I can't imagine a world right now where we would give up online programming. It's working, and it's working in ways that, we never saw coming. I mean, it's extending our reach to people, and, throughout the county, across DC. So, there are many, as difficult as the transition and pivot was in the first few weeks, with it has come many blessings and lessons learned that I think make us a stronger organization, and for our goal to reach as many people as possible with the arts and with art therapy, mental health services. I see this as a blessing in disguise.
For NAMI, I was going to just jump in and say, for NAMI, we successfully transitioned our in-person support groups to online using the Zoom platform. It has been working very well. But, we're in the business of providing peer support and authentic empathy and deep care, and that human touch is really valuable for us. So we don't see necessarily staying virtual, but we can see where that could play a role in the services going forward, because it's convenient for some people, and there are people who would not come to the in-person otherwise. So we could see doing both, actually.
We call that our hybrid model, right? So really making classes available across all 4 of our housing programs. So women who are in their own apartments have been able to Zoom in for classes that they might never have been able to do that before. And then women who are in more of our congregate settings are able to either join in person or join from their bed, because they have a tablet and can dial into a Zoom. And so I think for us, it's also been really interesting to see how volunteers have been able to engage with us. So we offer about 15 hours of classes a week, and they're all volunteer led. And so we've had these great educator volunteers who've either been with us for a while or new ones who've joined in. And we've offered classes that we never would have probably done before. So we had this class recently that was about entrepreneurial skills, and it was led by a woman who's living in Dubai, and one of the speakers was a woman who's in Ghana. And so it was this great moment of women really seeing themselves as a part of a global community. And so that's a very different thing than what we would normally be offering.
That's and it's interesting across all three. Again, I think there's some real unity there of maybe we keep some of these virtual things to kind of increase our breadth, right? So then we're able to then double down on our in-person things, really being those high touch, high support services we know some folks need, right? And that's how some folks want to engage. So we only have a few minutes left. We did get I got sent a question that was asking about, obviously these last, however many, it feels like forever, but I think like 8 months or so have been full of change, often negative. Hopefully these next 12 months are full of change, but slightly positive, but still change. So when you think about, as we kind of move back towards opening up, or as things kind of shift a bit, what are some things you're most worried, optimistic about when it comes to your clients and kind of your services?
So we're certainly concerned really about the economy, right? We're in a strong, we have the advantage of living in the DMV where there's a relatively stable local economy. But I think really worried about, for women in our programs, the impact of regaining employment, right? So, and how that plays in with mental health. So we have a woman who's living in our permanent housing, lost her construction job early on, and then had a car accident. And so really was very, very depressed after that. And so is only now really able to look at what are employment options for her, and what's then, the ways in which she will, her mental health will improve, and just her broader outlook will be able to improve as she begins to work again. And so, I think what the longer term impact of the economy on both the individual lives of women we serve, but also for us as an organization, and the need to really rely heavily on individual donors and our amazing foundation partners and our government partners, that's all going to matter a lot as we go into 2021.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Kris is saying, we worry across the board. It's, when you're talking about providing mental health services on the scope that is needed out there right now, you're talking about the stresses, the racial inequity, of division, of, all of the health concerns, the economy, all of it together. And, the negative impact continues to grow. And that means unmet needs. And so for us, and I'm sure others I think for others on this panel, it's how can we continue to meet those needs? And, I worry about all of that. I worry about my staff's needs. I worry about my therapist needs, my teaching artists. Our teaching artists, this is a passion for them, but it's also a second job. They're teachers in schools. They run small businesses. So there's plenty of worry to go around. And the good news is that we have amazing talent. We have amazing, passionate people on our staffs, our volunteers, partners in our community, and everybody has been pulling together in ways that, and building blocks that I think will help us to meet these needs and sustain us in the future. So trying to put the positive on it, and there is a lot of good news out there for how people are working together to meet these needs. So I want to put that out there.
Definitely.
I think one of the things that we would be concerned about is safety. I could see that there'd be a need to encourage our clientele to come back into our in-person groups and education classes. We partner with a number of organizations, libraries, senior citizen centers, hospitals, to host our in-person meetings and support groups. So just making sure that it's safe to do so when we do it. But on a positive note, the stigma side of this, because everyone is impacted by COVID mentally, to some degree, we don't have the numbers, but it almost seems like it's better. It's easier to even communicate about it and reduce fear about seeking treatment. And that's key.
Absolutely.
Definitely kind of changing that conversation and bringing it home for a lot of folks that maybe weren't thinking it. So a great conversation. We could have continued for a very long time, I know for sure, but we're actually going to go ahead and head over to the main stage right now for some wrap up. and kind of next steps. So if everyone wants to head over to the main stage, we'll see you there. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you again to our amazing panelists.
Thank you. Bye.